Good morning, Year 4, and this is your literacy video for If You've Got This booklet on Thursday the 21st of January. Now for today's learning we're going to turn to page 18 and the title of this page is High Adventure. So if I think about that, I think of something that's high up, maybe on a mountain or a volcano or on a really tall building, and it's an adventure. So it's going to be a little bit exciting and maybe even a little bit dangerous. So, Mount Everest is the highest mountain in the world. In 1953, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay were the first people to climb to the top of Mount Everest. This is an extract from Edmund Hillary's book about this adventure. It describes the first time Hillary saw a mountain. So, I'm not going to read this text to you, remember. I want you to give it a good go yourself. Remember to highlight any words that you might find a little bit tricky or you don't know what they mean. Now, if you come across a word that's got a star next to it, so here's one right at the bottom. If we've come across one of these words, that's when we need to flick to the bottom of our page to the glossary. And the glossary tells us what they mean. So we've got the word chateau, which means castle. We've got the word summit, which means the top of a mountain. And we've got to venture, which means to risk going. So that should help you with your understanding of those words. Now today, I'm going to show you how to answer your questions in a full sentence. So some of us are still only giving me a few words or starting your sentences with because, which we don't normally do in literacy. So, question number 1 says, why did Edmund want to go on the ski trip? And you'll see that I've highlighted some words there, and I'm going to use those to help me to create my sentence starter. So, why did Edmund want to go on the ski trip? Edmund wanted to go on the ski trip. And this is then when we add our because. This is where we explain why. And question 1 is a 2-mark question, so we need lots of detail telling me why. And I got most of these words from the question itself, so I didn't need to know how to spell them. I could just copy them, making sure we've got our capital letter to start our sentence. So that's your sentence starter for question number 1. Let's have a little look at question number 2 to see if we can come up with our sentence starter. How do you think Edmund felt when he reached the National Park station? Explain your answer. So we definitely need to explain in question number 2. So how did he feel? And this is a question about why we think he felt that way. So I'm going to start with I think, because what I think might be different to what Miss Chafe thinks or Miss Prince. So I think Edmund felt, and then here we need to add a feeling word, but we can't just end our sentence there. We need a little bit more detail. You've got to explain the answer. So I think Edmund felt because, and because is then when we'd explain why. What's happened to make him feel that way? Now, the last question I'm going to talk to you about today is question number 3. And this one is a little bit different because it's asking you to find a phrase in the text that describes snowballs. So, what we're going to do is we're going to skim read through this extract to find the word snowball. Now, when I'm skimming, I'm not reading every word in lots of detail. I'm just whizzing through it to try and spot that word snowball. So whizzing through and I found it. And then I'm going to read from the start of that sentence to see if there's a description of a snowball in there. See if you can spot it. There wasn't much of it, but it was a tremendous thrill, and before long snowballs, as hard as iron, were flying through the air. So did you spot how the snowballs were described? And for this one, we don't need a full sentence, just copying the phrase from the text will do. So it might help you if you highlight how those snowballs are described. Now, I hope that from looking at today's video, we've understood a little bit more how to answer in full sentences. And please remember that once you've answered all of your questions, to send your picture to the Year 4 email address.